Hello, fellow targeted individuals. When I lived in Austin, Texas, on Saturday I would like to have a taco salad and a small margarita. I'd like to watch sports like all the other guys there, just coming to enjoy their weekend. And I found myself being harassed by this woman. She's a radical feminist. She's tied to the Central Intelligence Agency. And these people would use military resources, GS4, the Citizens Corps programs, tap into emergency management resources, light and fast, use slander. They would work jointly with the FBI in operations, doing street theater. They might just be dropped out of a vehicle and walk right up to you in 106-degree temperature, wearing jackets like literally that thick, and walk up to you and then walk back to a car and leave, drenching in sweat profusely. And upon moving here to Florida, I was eating with a relative, and this lady did the same exact thing. She was drenched in sweat. Even the bartender asked her, "Ma'am, are you okay?" People were looking at her like she was mentally ill. And she was there with another man that dressed just like an agent with this curly earpiece. The lady looked at me and she said, "Volunteers in police service." While I'm eating food with my relative that was visiting, she went to the bathroom and didn't come out for a whole entire hour. She was freaked out. So I believe they're under the Police Chiefs Association. I find it weird because I had an unusual encounter here with the police chief in this town, and I have 2 false reports. I've made videos about this. So I believe the police chief here is probably a scumbag, a potential scumbag. A lot of these guys, they pretend, "Oh, I'm a Christian, 25 years of service." Doesn't mean hogwash, doesn't mean nothing to me. I've heard of cops stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from their trust funds, and they were Christians too. So the true integrity of a man or a woman is seen when no one else is looking. And I'm not speaking bad about this guy, because I don't know him, but I'm suspicious for a few reasons. One of them involves a video where he shows up and something else occurs. So then we have sheriff's associations. They're tied to DHS. They're getting DHS funding, FEMA funding, so they're pretty much a partner. They're being paid to go along with this activity and to remain silent. They're not going to snitch out a partner. Fusion centers, they're using a foreign program. It's an Israeli-based program for targeting based on AI. And fusion centers and corporations are using this. It can be updated to specifically target certain people because they believe, maybe they don't believe in the LGBT agenda, maybe they're Christian. So they can specifically target and update. It can be updated to target people that don't agree with certain types of agendas. It can. It also doesn't have the ability to feel the Holy Spirit, to be led by Christ. So it's basing its assumptions not on facts but hunches. Sometimes based on how an atheist or someone which doesn't believe in God would treat a person, or no, not treat a person, but suspect or assume a person to be, or it'll make these assumptions that are not based on facts, pretty much. So God is able to transform a person, to renew their mind, if they're staying connected to the vine. So there are people which are putting their faith into these programs and that are operating outside of the law. We're seeing it in Tampa with the sheriffs. Now they have a higher murder rate. Instead of people stealing as much, now they're just murdering people. So now they have a problem with people being killed in anger. So I don't know if it's all that great. Now, I have nothing to hide. I had my cell phone on high location for 90% of the time I lived in Austin, Texas. And I found myself being harassed literally 90% of the time that I was there. The only time I wasn't harassed that much was really when I was indoors. And there was no support from police. the state attorney, county attorney, local city officials. The city commissioners acted as if they were to support the fusion centers and the FBI and CIA. The sheriffs acted like their duty was to serve the FBI versus the people and investigate. When you're in such a dilemma, I encourage TIs to consider leaving the United States if you're able-bodied, if you have the money. Don't waste your life living in a country which is going to target you and utilize the LGBT community, radical feminists, transgender, Israeli, to terrorize you. And I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm sharing with you guys my experience. And I have a lot of video proof. It backs up what I'm stating. I have experienced in the past targeting by the Central Intelligence Agency. And this occurred due to me being investigated for a murder of a U.S. Air Force pilot named Mike Brady in 1996. Even after allowing a search of my residence, they swore the murder weapon was there. It was impossible for me to move it. I told them, go in there and find it. While I was in police custody, like over 20 miles away, they raided my home. I gave them the okay. They also told me that if I take a polygraph test and I failed it, I'll be charged with murder at that year. At that time, I believe it was part of the law. If you failed the polygraph, they can charge you. So I told them, bring it on. Let's take a polygraph test. And I wasn't rude about it. I was like, I'm on your side. Let's do this. And I passed it. And to this day, I swear under threat of perjury that I will take any polygraph test any federal agency wants me to take regarding this matter. I have nothing to hide. Even when I leave the United States and seek political asylum, bring it on. Bring your equipment. So for 26 years, I've been harassed, and one day I was in Pensacola, Florida, and I was harassed by a guy in the United States Air Force. Well, there's no U.S. Air Force base there. How did he know where I was at? And he arrived seconds upon arrival. I had the same experiences with InfraGard, and this is going back 2003. I believe that's when InfraGard just started. I was being harassed by first responders, InfraGard, the CERT programs, Citizens Corps programs, the CIA, military, active duty military were harassing me in libraries. Radical feminists, women in the army. So I'm thinking, what are these people trying to say? I'm some type of little bitch or something? Then I talked to a friend and he told me, you need to come to this men's group and share what you have. And I shared it with the men there. They all told me. These are guys with no criminal record. Most of them are wealthy. They told me if they were to experience that, they would shoot these people down. These are guys with no criminal record. Most are wealthy, boat owners. They own big homes on beaches. So that said a lot. It's like pretty much, hey, these people are crossing the line. This was back in 2003. We're in 2023. I've spent half my life being targeted. And they would come with groups of women and terrorize me. Imagine you go to a remote beach and they come right there, like literally that far, and sit behind you and go spit, harass you while you're eating food. These people have some type of radical feminist agenda, and I believe they're trying to do social engineering by trying to put on their garbage to make people feel docile or to become docile. It's not going to happen with me, I'll tell you right now. I'm a masculine guy. Even though I'm non-combative, I will not support their agenda. People can be whatever way they choose to be, and I'll respect them. I can even love them as a human being. But I don't want to be a part of their culture and their lifestyle. Only thing they're going to do is they keep pushing and pushing, we're going to have a conflict where I'm going to push back. And I'm going to push back literally. So I've been able to locate not even office locations, the rush hours when they enter, exit, where some of these people eat at, even in Langley. I've dealt with people which work in different states. They've been known to do surveillance work. They're called surveillance workers, or there's another name for them. Surveillance workers, and there's another name. Maybe I'll remember it in a little bit. So there's a lot of jobs in this. You got role players. And a lot of these people are just simply directed to, hold on one second. I apologize. I'm turning off my phone. I have it on airplane. I didn't have it on airplane mode. So I'm about to get an ultrasound. My doctor's concerned about one area of my body, so I don't want to be harassed. Oh, speaking of harassment at medical appointments, I have a video where I was harassed at a doctor's office, and I'm using the bathroom. I have like 20 minutes till my appointment, and a guy comes in there and says, "I'm watching you. I'm watching you." I go to my car, and there's this paper with an eye, a sticky pad. Really, really spooky. So I go to the police department, and they don't even make a report about this incident. They just leave the report totally blacked out, blank. And they told me the reason why is because if an incident happens in a bathroom, even if you're recording someone threatening you, they can't use that information in Texas. I found that really weird. And I told him, look, I'm using the bathroom. This guy is saying, "I'm watching you. I'm watching you." He doesn't use the bathroom, then he leaves, and I found this on my car. So I go walking nearby my residence one day, and I'm being harassed by children and these elderly men that have Masonic logos and Lions Club logos, and a woman with a black SUV with no tag with kids with her. And they all walk up to me going, "Shh, shh." And this happened repetitively. This happened here in Florida, bunches of times. So I started here, I moved here to Florida, and I started researching the people doing this. And this one guy shows up with a company which hasn't been outsourced to any federal agency besides the CIA. So I put two and two together. So they'll harass you, like in Texas, they'd harass me while I'm having a margarita. You know why? Because when someone is drinking and they're trying to get away from a highly toxic situation, they're hoping that you will react with explosive anger and maybe start shooting. So that's not the case for me. I walk away from stuff like that. I'll call the police or inform the restaurant, look, I'm being harassed by these people. They have no tag. They're doing this every week. Here's the proof. So I don't look for problems. I don't fight with these people. But if they do this towards the typical American, doesn't matter if you're white, black, your social, economic background, they can infuriate someone where they lash out in violent anger. So a lot of these mass shootings have a political agenda, and it's tied to the promotion of perversion, gun rights. They have this new world order type philosophy or ideology. And if you look at websites, like any government website, DHS, Department of State, CIA, you'll notice these posts, LGBT, LGBT, LGBT. But then you don't see anything regarding family values and God we trust, liberty, reducing diseases. You don't see nothing like that. So their agenda has changed. It used to be different. Now all of a sudden after Obama, it's like everything has changed. And with this comes social engineering, and they use this term diversity and inclusion because they're allowing people to target people as a group, a mob. And if you do research on mobbing, it's always been linked to mass shootings. Ask the CIA, Secret Service, FBI, what mobbing is linked to. That's why our government agencies have anti-bully policies, because they already know that it's linked to mass shootings. Why do you think some schools have scanners for guns? They're trying to prevent violence. Because they already know that complaints of people being bullied and mobbed have been linked to shootings, to strife and anger. So to stop such activities, they use scanners. Being a person which is naturally loving and nonviolent and compassionate, like right now I have no guns on me, no weapons, I'm non-combative. I feel like, these types of people, especially empaths, they have a moral obligation to not only expose evil, but to also speak against it. Because if you remain silent, then you're complicit. You're allowing these people to harm people, and they bring this into your schools. This is no joke. The CIA can access Citizens Corps programs, which they have secretive little groups. Actually, I shouldn't even talk about this, but I'm going to tell you something. I've seen the documents that they have for the group in Austin, Texas. I don't know if it's classified. I'm not going to say how I got access, but I have some connections. And one of them went to their office to investigate. I don't know if they used Poison Tap, one of these remote desk protocols. They had computers everywhere. And I told a lot of people about what they were doing. And there was a lot of people investigating in different states to see if they could confirm what I was saying as true. And there was confirmation that the CIA had, at one of these places, an office right above them. And they would go just directly to them to target Americans. And Citizens Corps has access to Health and Human Services. So they can access your medical records. And these people can change stuff. They can use people in the fusion center, we call them liaison partners. I almost said it wrong. So they can use people to put bad notes on you, and they can all turn against you. And that's why when you relocate, when your police chief gets 20 calls, one from U.S. Army, diversity and inclusion, all these different groups, it's overwhelming. So what do they want to do? They want to get you out the community. Then after a few months or years, they realize you're not a problem. You're not the problem. They leave you alone. And that's how it typically is for many TIs. But these people will continue to outsource. I apologize for drinking water here. I'm about to have an appointment and they require me to drink 32 ounces of water. I have been x-rayed and scanned. I don't believe in doing this, but due to health reasons, I want to get to the bottom of what's wrong with my health. I have back issues due to a semi-accident, and then a kid hit my vehicle, a young girl. And what's really strange about this is that this woman that I had problems with, she's a Jewish woman, she gets out of the car and she's like yelling at me. And imagine you're driving on a road and someone hits your vehicle and runs you off the road, and you see them in your lane, like their car is in your lane. You can clearly see who's at fault. And I'm being haggled. And the people are telling me they're sorry for hitting me. So the accident seemed real suspicious because I had told TIs that I was being hit on the sidewalk as wide as the roads. The sidewalk is literally as wide as a road. A semi could drive on this thing. It's that wide. And I'd be on the far right and a car would be on the far left, and then it'd go right into my bike. And then suddenly I was experiencing odd stuff as I back out of the house. My relatives would freak out. Oh, the car won't stop. It's going faster and faster. When the speed limit's 25, they would go like 50 miles an hour. Lamborghini cruising around the house like 80 miles an hour in a private residential area. And they would stop at my residence. These people had an agenda with me. And I experienced this in another state. These people appear to have a place out, I would say, in St. Pete, Florida, the Winter Garden, OC area. The CIA has some things there. The National Security had a job post there a while back. The CIA did. The FBI's out there in Maitland. I don't even go by that place. I stay far away from them. I don't really investigate agencies no more. Mostly Freemasons, radical feminists, Israelis, LGBT, transgender, that have come my way in groups that have some type of feminist agenda. A lot of these people are ex-US Army. Some don't appear to be. I'm not trying to criticize them, but some of these guys act like they were just taken off the streets and given an opportunity. I helped one a while back fix his windshield. Another one changed their car, their car tire. And they harassed me in a library, and I figured, you know what? I'm just gonna be a nice person and let these people see that I'm not their enemy, hoping that it may change these people's behaviors towards me. little while ago, I had a car up on my vehicle that's checking, make sure it's not a vehicle that I've had an issue with in the past. And I don't get out and curse them out if they show up at 10 different locations within an hour. But I like to make sure I have my back camera on and my side camera so I can get tags. Now imagine that you like to have a dinner with your grandmother on Sunday after church, and instead of enjoying the moment, the quality time, in the back of your mind you're wondering, am I going to be harassed again? Or feeling relieved when you leave the restaurant because you've experienced so much harassment while eating that you no longer want to eat out. And you don't want them to be targeted also. It's a horrible experience. You're eating food and then it's like you feel disgusted and then you're angry and then you just like throwing up. I spent years living like that. And then I started developing bowel problems, stomach issues, stress hives, hair loss. Hair would fall out in clumps. I remember one time that all the hair on my face it all fell out. Pubic hair, hair under my underarms, it all just fell out. And these guys that were harassing me in Florida around, I think it was around 2006, they harassed me and they played volleyball over my head at a beach, at a remote beach. They had a black SUV, they came with women and people as a group. They went there and I'm eating a burger before I go to school and they're laughing at me as a group. Hysterically at me. Saying, look at him, he's losing his hair. And they're like, we're surprised he hasn't shot himself in the head. So these are sick people. There's not much you can do about these people because they have ties to police and they're operating in our schools and communities nationwide. Congress knows this. There are certain people that have oversight. Why they're remaining silent boggles my mind. So they operate in our schools, they operate in our communities, and time and time again, the government has told the CIA, you can't operate in our communities, you can't target Americans. But why are their offices close to Citizens Corps programs? Why are they outsourcing to regional councils? Why is the CIA pushing a Israeli targeting program onto sheriff's offices? Why is it being used in all our fusion centers? Why is the CIA operating on bases? Why is it operating behind business fronts and civic groups nationwide? Why is it allowing LGBT and transgender people and Israelis to target citizens? Is this like an ADL front or something? Or an Israeli type based agency? I don't know. There's some type of agenda with radical feminism and LGBT with them. I have nothing against them. I get angry at them at times, but I'm a loving person and I don't understand why, but Christ has given me the ability to forgive people despite being harassed tens of thousands of times in 26 years. Remember, the FBI destroyed Gene Seberg's life. Ernest Hemingway. These weren't terrorists or violent people. These were human beings. So if they would do this to them, they would do this to you. If you were too outspoken or you said something they didn't like. Like maybe you don't agree with their agenda, their ideals. There are congressmen which have used this program also. There's some congressmen which have spoken against this program. They don't approve of it. They know it exists. Why do you think that we have these Homeland Security committees, not in DHS so much, but in a state building in each state? And then when you ask for help, they don't respond back. It's their buddies. And they're all Freemasons. So it's some type of Israeli Masonic type activity, New World Order type activity. And a lot of these guys are highly, highly racist. Highly, highly racist. They won't tell you that, but they are. And I have no problem with them. If they're racist, you have the right to be racist. It's your right to hate. I'm Puerto Rican. If someone doesn't like me, that's their right to hate me. As long as they don't kill me or hurt me, I have no problem with them. I grew up in the South, so I know the mentality of a lot of these people. that are behind some of these programs. But that's how it is. You're either far, far left or you're far, far right. And most of the stalking program. And some people see this as a mechanism for social engineering. They want you to be docile, be effeminate. And one thing that's going to happen, they push that crap on me, is I'm going to push back. I've been doing it 26 years. I've never harmed these people. I don't use guns. I don't harass. I don't stalk. But I've reached a point where I want to leave this country. I'm tired of being harassed. So I'm not a dangerous person, but I feel like I'm dealing with potentially dangerous people, which are emotionally unstable and pose a direct threat to themselves. Because if you're harassing people and they're going on TV, talking to government agencies, going to the Senate committee and they're talking to them, the other politicians asking for help to be denied, who's the problem? The person asking for help or the person denied help, and that's recording it? That's recording the government hundreds and hundreds of times, thousands of times in my case, saying, no, we won't investigate, no, we won't help, and yes, we will support this activity. That's what I'm recording. From police, county attorneys, state attorneys in Texas, public officials, the FBI, government agencies, DHS. So, who's the problem? Those which have their cell phone on high location, which aren't hiding, which aren't doing anything wrong, which are asking for help, and trying to expose false reports, to those which say, we support being against the Constitution. We support activities which present pre-terrorism indicators. Because that's what I'm exposing. I'm exposing what you see in communist nations. God bless. Say no to violence. Peace.